Namaskar and welcome to Startup Champions. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Talking about journey of digital India is talking about the journey of inclusion and empowerment. One of the most positive outcomes of digital India has been digital transactions, from a direct benefit transfer to daily commerce. And today, startups are leveraging this opportunity to offer a wide array of financial services and products to the consumer. Then there are startups who are furthering the ecosystem, the opportunities in the area of innovation. They are both utilizing and expanding the ecosystem of advanced technology to make ease of living for masses, for people possible. And we have today two special startups who are doing just that. Very happy to introduce them to you. Let's put our hands together for Bharat Pay. It's a trademark of resilient innovation. Ashneer Grover, co-founder from Delhi, is with us. Ashneer, warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Shubhendu.
Let's put our hands together for the next startup, Minion Labs India. Gokul Srinivas, co-founder, is joining us from Bengaluru. Warm welcome to you, Gokul. And let's also put our hands together for the audience members who are joining us today. We look forward to the questions that you bring to the program. Let's move on and talk about our mentors who are a crucial part of our program. Let me introduce you to the mentors who are joining us today. First, we have with us Kunal Kalavatia, Chief of Marketing, NPCI. That's the National Payments Corporation of India. That's an umbrella organization, as we know, for operating retail payments and settlements systems in India. Our next mentor joining us is Stanley Stephen, Associate Partner, Rucum Capital. And Rucum Capital is a leading investor in early stage consumer products and services company. Warm welcome to both of you. And let's take the program forward with a special report. The special report on fintech revolution in India and how startups are leading this revolution.
Transforming India into a $5 trillion economy. With this vision, big developments in every stage and at every level are visible today. From investment of 1 lakh crore rupees into basic infrastructure to turning MSMEs into next champion enterprises, the government is working on mission mode to help India achieve self-reliance in diverse sectors. Past 5 years have seen a clear focus on fintech revolution, digital transfer and Make in India. Prime Minister Modi has invoked youth to become job creators instead of job seekers. Today, MSMEs and startups are taking forward this momentum of growth and innovation.
आत्मनिर्भर भारत सिर्फ बड़े उद्योगों या बड़े शहरों से नहीं बनेगा। आत्मनिर्भर भारत गांवों में, छोटे शहरों में, छोटे-छोटे उद्यमियों के, सामान्य भारतीयों के परिश्रम के योगदान का उसमें बहुत महत्व है। आत्मनिर्भर भारत किसानों से कृषि उत्पादों को बेहतर बनाने वाली इकाइयों से बनेगा। आत्मनिर्भर भारत हमारे एमएसएमई से बनेगा, हमारे स्टार्टअप से बनेगा। और आत्मनिर्भर भारत की एक बड़ी पहचान हमारे स्टार्टअप्स, हमारे एमएसएमई होंगे।
Amidst the COVID pandemic and the changing economic realities, the world took note of India's capability and talent. Amidst the lockdowns and restrictions, India's digital ecosystem shielded the country from a greater impact. India's entrepreneurs created the world's second largest ecosystem in just 5 years. Fintech revolution has created a niche for itself amidst the culture of innovation. Today, there are over 1,200 fintech companies operating in India. 67% of the companies started in the last 5 years. Fintech companies have attracted over global funding worth $10 billion. The net valuation of these companies is pegged at $50 to $60 billion. By 2025, the sector is expected to grow to $150 billion. So far, 8 fintech companies have become unicorn, that is, crossed the $1 billion mark. In the past couple of years, fintech companies have grown by 13 to 70 times. Today, mobile banking, paperless credit, mobile wallet, secure payments are popular tools, and within the reach of the masses, the nation is fast moving from financial inclusion towards financial empowerment.
नए उद्यमियों तक क्रेडिट कैसे पहुंचे? नए स्टार्टअप और फिनटेक के लिए आप नए और बेहतर फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट्स तैयार करने पर फोकस करें। आप सभी भली भांति जानते हैं कि हमारे फिनटेक स्टार्टअप्स आज बेहतरीन काम कर रहे हैं और इस सेक्टर में हर संभावनाओं एक्सप्लोर कर रहे हैं। कोरोना काल में भी जितनी स्टार्टअप डील्स हुई हैं, उनमें हमारे फिनटेक की हिस्सेदारी बहुत अधिक रही है। जानकार बताते हैं कि इस वर्ष भी ये मोमेंटम बना रहेगा, इसलिए आपको भी इसमें नई संभावनाएं तलाश करनी है।
With its demographic advantage and expanding ecosystem of startups, New India is looking to tackle traditional problems, hurdles and challenges with new innovative solutions.
So that was the journey of Digital India. As we see it, let's get a perspective on that from our mentor. Kunal, how do you see the opportunities that exist for startups today as far as India's digital economy is concerned?
I think the role of the startups is very, very crucial in the journey of digital payments as we speak right now. I think in the last few years, digital payments has really grown and become a significant portion of the transactions in the country. I think cash is still the king, but I think digital payments have really established themselves in the hearts and the mind of the customers. In the last 1 year, during the pandemic, I think customers have really woken up to the fact of how digital payments are not just about easy, safe and instant, but also adding that hygiene element of with the contactless payments coming into the clear stage there. So I think with this love and affection and deep need from the consumers, digital payments are here to stay very clearly. We see in the last, I think, 1 year itself, I think how digital payments have grown, and I think we have Ashneer with us from BharatPe. Very clearly, I think one of the significant players who's led the acceptance drive on the digital payments. There are many players like that in the market who've really stood up to the cause of allowing customers to have contactless payments during this pandemic. So I would say it's a very clear customer need today. The ecosystem of banks, fintechs, policy by the government and RBI, I think everything is in place.
Right.
I think right now it's the last leg of adoption by consumers, which needs to, whether it's education of customers about digital payments, how to use them, how to be safe with digital payments. And I think driving the adoption, which is the last leg of this journey, which we have to all travel together.
Right there. Thanks, Kunal. And right. And if we can also have Stanley on the mentor wall. Stanley, we're celebrating 5 years of Startup India mission. Now, in these years, if you can give us a perspective of how the ecosystem of investments, but that's what a startup needs to begin. How has that improved in these years?
So in those 5 years of startup funding, if you see, investment has increased in 2021. We have more investors than we have startups. And fintech globally, if you see, has grown a lot. And in a country wherein we are, where cash is the king, fintech has a good and a greater opportunity to grow more and more. There's no dearth of capital if you are actually doing something very unique, very good. But these startups, they have the opportunity, to make some niche things, some differentiators, and make a new segment out of the existing industry that we have.
Right, Stanley, thanks very much for that perspective. Let's take the program forward. Let's talk about our first startup, BharatPe. Now, whether you have to buy a biscuit for 5 rupees or a mobile for 20,000 rupees, the convenience of using online payment, digital payment, there is no match for it. Now, BharatPe has done remarkable work in this area, and today they are one of the leading fintech companies in India. In fact, they are the leaders as far as offline UPI transactions is concerned. Their vision is to make financial inclusion possible for all the merchants and customers in India. And they're doing very well in that. The 50 lakh merchants that they're serving in the country across 35 cities. Let's take a look at their fascinating journey.
Digital India and Startup India. The government's two major mission mode projects not only help to promote the ease of living for the common people, but also played a strong role in creating future entrepreneurs. Meet financial services startup Bharat Pay, trademark of Resilient Innovations Private Limited, which is contributing significantly in making Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Digital India dream a reality. Started in 2018, it has expanded its footprints to 100 cities across India.
I started talking to multiple investors. I dropped out of IIT after completing my third year. With different angel investors, lots of conversation, lots of talks. I also happened to connect to Ashni, who is my co-founder right now. So I pitched the idea to him. He liked it very much. He was excited to join any kind of startup.
It was founded to build a holistic fintech platform for small merchants. Today, Bharat Pay is a full-stack service app for merchants across small and medium businesses, offering loans, investments, insurance and other financial services. The company is committed to empowering over 60 million strong SME community with its range of financial products, especially designed to address their needs.
So the basic product is a QR code. We introduced the first interoperable QR code in India. We introduced the first free QR code in India as well. So on our QR code, a customer can pay through Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, Amazon Pay, WhatsApp Pay, any UPI app works on it. And the merchant can accept the payments for free. Basis the number of payments you collect, we actually go back to the merchant through the app itself, through the Bharat Pay app itself, and give them an offer to take a loan from us.
Bharat Pay makes payment acceptance simple by offering merchants a single QR to accept payment from a range of payment apps such as Paytm, PhonePe, Google Pay, Bheem and 150 plus other apps.
एक तो पेमेंट ऑनलाइन होती है तो उसमें सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग बनी रहती है. हमारे साथ यहाँ से डिलीवरी जैसे जाती है तो कस्टमर अपने घर से ही पेमेंट कर देता है, तो उसमें लेने देने से जो कोरोना का जो डिस्टेंसिंग बनी रहती है, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग, और पेमेंट आसानी से लोन की पेमेंट भी कट जाती है और अकाउंट में पैसा आता है. तो सारा मेरा भी ऑनलाइन ही चलता है. किसी की पेमेंट करनी हो तो मैं भी ऑनलाइन ही कर देता हूँ.
So Bharat Pay is one-stop destination for all the transactions done through QR code, and the best part is that the service that they give to the shop owners is absolutely free. A truly Indian company, Bharat Pay aspires to become a full-fledged digital bank for merchants.
We want to enable payments for at least 200 or 2 crore merchants over the next 2-3 years. And that would mean we will have to go at least to 300-350 cities from here and probably deeper.
In just over 2 years, Bharat Pay has become the #1 offline acquirer for UPI QR transactions in the country. Bharat Pay endeavors to leverage the best-in-class technology, and they aspire to go even stronger than they are.
Together for Bharat Pay. And Ashneer Grover, co-founder, is with us. Ashneer, Bharat Pay is a household name. We're all familiar with it. Also, online digital transactions have become more and more familiar to Indians. Help us understand the stage, the day when it was still an idea, when it's yet to start. How did you go about it?
So we started Bharat Pay in 2018 and back then the payments landscape was very different. You only had two major companies. There was Paytm and there was PhonePe.
Right.
So if you went to a shop, you would be looking for either a Paytm QR code or a PhonePe QR code. And UPI was just about picking up. So on peer-to-peer payments, UPI was picking up pretty fast. So we figured out that if we provided a way for a merchant to accept payments on a single QR code from all the payment apps, it will solve for the merchant. The other thing which was very clear to us, that in India the retailers have very thin margins. So they are not willing to pay for payments or any services in fact. So the key was, how do we marry UPI, which was picking up very fast, and make it free for the merchant to accept payments. And that's what we did with the Bharat Pay QR. Not only was it interoperable to start with, it was also free. And so 2018 when we started putting it out, first people did not believe. They said, how can it accept everything?
Oh, that's the USP of Bharat Pay. How did you go about it, doing that?
Yeah, so if you look at the UPI architecture, the architecture it was interoperable.
Okay.
But because most payment companies believe in making money off payments, so that for every 100 rupees transacted, they want to keep 1 or 2 rupees for themselves. They were not willing to offer it for free, or not willing to open it up. And we said we don't want to be on the or making money on the payments itself. We want to eventually use payments to come in the cash flow of the merchant.
Right.
And basis the visibility of the cash flow, we want to lend to the merchant. So that was our philosophy from the very beginning, and that helped us be very clear about things that we need to make the payments free in India.
Right. And Ashneer, we were talking about Digital India movement, and in a very short span of time, India has become accustomed to online payments. How did you see that as an opportunity when you were starting up to come up with BharatPe?
So if you look at India is a very transactional economy,
Yes.
right? Everyone wants to close a transaction and move on, because there is this fear that if I give someone money, will he give me the good or not, or will I get the service or not?
Right.
So everyone wants to pay at the point they're getting the good or service. So it was, to us, it was very clear. You have 1.3 billion people in India, and so any amount of transactions would be into billions in India.
Right.
And if we could come into that cash flow, then we can do a lot more for both the customer side and the merchant side.
Right, right. Let's turn to our mentor to get a perspective on BharatPe. Kunal, how do you see BharatPe's journey and the manner in which they've sort of furthered the mission of Digital India, particularly financial inclusion for wide merchants?
Shubhendra, I think I agree with Ashneer. I think the journey of UPI, and I think specifically the journey of UPI acceptance at the point of sale, at small stores, kirana walas, and I think it's a significant contribution that BharatPe has had in that journey. I think the insight that BharatPe has got, and I think Ashneer just verbalized it beautifully. I think what a customer really needs at a outlet is a simple QR which works across all apps. You can open any UPI app, scan the QR, and make a payment. And in today's times, more contactless. I think that demand has got fueled by the infrastructure that's got created by BharatPe very clearly. I think they are one of the significant players in the ecosystem when it comes to offline payments very clearly. I think the simplicity with which they have delivered this solution to the merchants, I think, and the unique model of pricing which I think they kick-started way back, I think, in 2018. And I think this infrastructure that they've created in the last 2 years has really yielded results in the last, I think, the year of the pandemic. Yeah. I think significant acceptance by merchants and customers.
Right. Kunal, thanks for that perspective. Ashneer, on that, we'd like to know about the team that started BharatPe, the founders. We hear about dropping out from IIT, which is not something that we hear often. Help us understand, how did the team come together for BharatPe?
So it's me and my co-founder Shashwat. Both of us are from IIT Delhi, but 16 years apart, right?
So you're the senior?
Yeah, I'm the senior guy here. So Shashwat was in 3rd year of engineering, and he and 4 of his friends had figured out the UPI architecture pretty well. So when I met them, I asked them, are you willing to take the plunge? Because it seems very exciting to drop out. But in India, no one drops out.
IIT,
right?
that's unheard of.
Yeah. In fact, I used to get calls from the 4 boys who dropped out from IIT from their parents saying, what black magic are you doing on our kids? Right. So that's what I had to sort of deal with initially. But we were very clear the opportunity was very big, because payments is universal. Right. It's as applicable at a kirana store as it's at an electronic store or a movie hall. So we knew it's going to be very big if it picks up. And so the 5 of us got together. We coded the whole program in. We put the first stickers out. So I remember.
How long did that take, this process?
So the coding and creating the whole backend infrastructure took us about 3 months.
Okay.
And in parallel, we also created the QR codes. And I very, very vividly remember that we used to go to Nehru Place Market and try to convince the electronic retailers to take this, right? Because they could, on a 20,000, 30,000 rupees laptop sold, they could actually easily save 500, 600 rupees every transaction. So we started at the higher end, and then slowly from there we went to the panwalas outside their store saying, you can also use this.
And what was the initial response when you approached them?
So everyone was didn't know what to expect, right? First of all, they thought, who will give a service for free, right? So there's that distrust that they have, that was there. But once people started accepting transactions, and they could see the money hit their bank account immediately. I think that went through pretty well, and the acceptance really picked up after that.
Right. Ashni, we'll also see the significance of the family in the life of every startup. We have something special lined up. Let's take a look at this special part.
Ashneer always wanted to start something of his own, have his own startup. Since the time he joined American Express, he met a lot of founders, a lot of startup founders. In 2017, Ashneer met Bhavik and Shashwat, and that was the time when Ashneer thought that if this is the right time to start something, because he has a team now, and the idea by Bhavik and Shashwat was very good, that they wanted to do something for small merchants. He is very happy with the growth of BharatPe.
Your wife tracking the journey of BharatPe. Help us understand how significant was support of the family when you were putting it all together.
I think the family support is very, very critical, right? Because as an individual, when you become a founder, you get a lot of satisfaction by employing people, by putting out a product in the market, right? But at some level, it's coming at the cost of the family, because they're not seeing you in office every day, right? They only see that you're not coming home, right? Or you're working out even on the weekend, and there's too much stress and multiple stakeholders to manage. So they always feel that what is the bigger thing that you're doing it for? But when it gets to a certain scale, when you get recognized, then the family understands that you're doing it for the larger good of the country and the society, and I think that gives them the satisfaction that the time they've spent away from you was worth it.
Right. And as we understand, BharatPe is becoming bigger, from being a payment interface to a company that provides financial services, from loans to investments and more. Help us understand this direction in which you're moving towards.
Yeah. So see, fundamentally, if you look at it, in India, the business men essentially need capital.
Yes.
See, there's enough enterprise, they're willing to work hard, there's a large market. So they don't necessarily need to be told how to do business. They know how to do business, but to do business they need capital. So fundamentally what we believe is that if we can give more capital out, that has more value than any value added service or technology that we can give to them. So we are giving that financial product which is capital to them. Or if they already have capital and they want to earn more on it, we also have a product where they can deploy their capital and earn 12% interest.
Wow.
So essentially, from being a pure fintech, we have now reached a stage where we are acting more and more like a bank.
Right,
and
like a digital bank, if you understand.
Absolutely digital, because the only interface for the merchant is our app.
Right, right. Amazing. On that, let's get a perspective from our mentor. Let's connect with Stanley. Stanley, how do you see the journey of BharatPe, particularly the aspect in the manner in which they're growing now, from an interface towards becoming a full-fledged digital bank?
The journey that these guys have done is, has been a good one. In 2 years' time, the returns that these guys have given in, and now, moving the segment of financial lending here to P2P lending. I'm sure there are more better opportunities where people are looking for more transparent lending. I think these guys can make it, because UPI, the interference, the barcode, things have actually evolved in time. And I think especially from the time we have this Notebandi, and because of COVID, the digital payments altogether, people are moving inclined towards being more digitally evolved, be it any part of India, tier 1, 2, 3.
That was Stanley giving us a perspective on BharatPe. Let's also now turn to our audience members and see what questions have they been putting together.
I'm Ritika Joshi. I'm from IMS University Courses Campus, Ghaziabad. My question is that what is the structure BharatPe is having, and what all are the challenges you have faced in the initial period of the time when you have started the business?
So initially, see, when you start the business, you have to solve for everything, right? Right from getting the first employee to come in and join you, to convincing the first customer to take the service, to in fact working with the stakeholders. So NPCI has been a great stakeholder, but to initially convince them that this is a service we can build out at scale and we need their support for it. And for any payment service, you need to work with banks, right? So we work with 4 different banks now. But back in the day, even to convince the first bank to start working with us was a lot of effort. And of course, then there comes to the point of funding, right? Someone has to put the capital behind you to take the idea forward. So initially, it seems very, very daunting when you look back. But then things start getting put into place one by one, right? So capital comes, there will be initial believers who want to work on something big, so employees join in. And if you put out a relevant product, the customers automatically walk in, and then it's a question of scaling things up, right? Now, as we look at things today, we are doing very different things. Like what we want today is a full-fledged banking license, so that we can give lending and deposits at a much larger scale to a much larger population. So the nature of the challenge has changed from being very basic. It's become much more sophisticated. But I think the fun part is it's still challenging, right? We don't come into an office a day and believe we have achieved everything, or it's become boring and we want to do something else, right? This is exactly what we want to continue doing for the next 5-10 years of our lives.
Right, great. Let's get another question from the audience members. Yeah.
My name is Varun, and now government has come up with a different platforms under a Digital Abhiyan program, right? So I want to know, like, what kind of support you have received from the government side in pushing these services forward in the organization.
Yeah. See, from a government perspective, I think the government has been really visionary. If you look at it, UPI is the first of its kind in the world. So today, we end up speaking with people in Brazil, in Middle East, who want us to come to their country and replicate what UPI has done in India. And you need to understand, the whole UPI infrastructure or the India stack was built by the government, right? And now not only UPI, they are building account aggregator as a service. So I believe the government is playing a very democratized role. They are putting up the right infrastructure in place and leaving it for the startups and the private players to commercialize it and take it to the market. Very simple thing, right? When we started, there used to be a charge on UPI transactions. For every transactions above 2,000 rupees, we actually had to bear 0.6% charge. But the government was forward-thinking enough that in January 2020, they actually removed the charge away from the whole UPI transactions. And that led to, when the COVID happened, transactions pick up really fast. During COVID, in fact, the business has gone up 4 times. So in that sense, the government has played the right role. They've put the infrastructure, but then they've stepped back and let the private players take up.
And researching on Bharat Pay, we learned something interesting about Bharat X. Ashneer, getting ready the next generation of fintech professionals. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. So fintech as a segment is not part of formal education, right? You don't see payment as a course, either in a BTech degree or an MBA degree. But it's a big segment in itself. As the Honorable Prime Minister was saying, it's probably the largest segment attracting the most amount of capital and probably will employ the most amount of people as well in India. But the challenge is the understanding of how even payments work. What is an acquiring bank? What is an issuing bank? What does a network do? What does NPCI do? Is very minimal. So our view was that we want to actually get youngsters to walk into Bharat Pay, understand how the whole payment infrastructure in India works, understand how like a company like ours works, and take it back to their colleges where they can educate the people back again or introduce it as courses in college, so that fintech as a segment becomes part of the formal education, right? So that's the endeavor with Bharat X, in which we are offering internships to promising individuals to come and work with us for 3 months and figure out how fintech really works.
That's brilliant, Ashneer, and it's amazing to learn about the journey of Bharat Pay. Time now to talk about our second startup, Minion Labs. Now, saving is also earning, whether we talk about money or we talk about energy. Our next startup has in fact created a very smart energy monitoring system using artificial intelligence that helps customer monitor the usage of different appliances, the entire network, and also check wastage of electricity and power. Let's take a look at their fascinating journey.
Have you ever experienced a shock after seeing your electricity bill and wondered why there is this anomaly between your expectation and reality? Worry not. The invention of our startup, Minion Labs, offers the solution to keep a tab on the electricity consumption of individual appliances. Its founder Gokul has already won 26 awards by the age of 26 for his innovation and the startup.
Who got rejected more than 400 job applications before even appearing for a first round of interview. So well, that's me. So I was a state level hockey player at 2010, and I got into an unfortunate accident and I had to be hospitalized for 4 months that time. So that got me less marks in my 10th standard, but that marks haunted me at my on-campus college placements, where I was put up in a non-eligibility category. But I didn't leave it. I struggled a lot and got into Amazon through a coding competition. So I resigned in a year and started focusing on my core, which is electronics and the dream innovation. I don't feel that as a pressure at all, because this is my dream, and I'll be doing even 24/7, 365 days without any, because that's my dream and I'm working towards my dream.
Your own army of minions track the electricity uptake by each appliance. This not only helps identify appliances which are unnecessarily being switched on, but also detect appliances which are deteriorating or developing faults, so that you can make an informed decision about cost-benefit analysis of all your appliances. This can reduce electricity bill up to 30% for not only homeowners but also facilities like offices, hospitals and industries which use heavy machinery.
Starting with the descriptive analytics, I mean, they would be, the customer would be seeing how exactly how much he is consuming right now. The NILM that we are implementing, I mean, that tells the consumer that exactly at what particular time he has, which appliance he is using. So that gives him better insights in, if some appliance which is not required should not be running. Moving forward, the diagnostic tells the user that if there is any potential threat to an appliance, that might break down the appliance in the future. And finally, with the prescriptive is simply leveraging all these 4 AI practices and just notifying the user.
It's simple plug and play. Client can install the device if none of our team or electricians is available.
Gokul's ingenuity and hard work has helped him build his startup team, which is committed and motivated.
I graduated last year from the college as a bachelor degree student, and then I joined an intern. I got into some companies, some good MNCs, but I wanted to like to work in the startups only, because you'll get a lot of exposures, things and all. So, and then in that, Minion Labs was more fascinating, and then more technological advanced company, so that I believe in myself that I'll learn more and then I'll exposure to the great market and everything.
The Minions ensure your electric appliances don't create trouble for you. Minion Labs has already started providing Minion ecosystem to resorts, hospitals and MSMEs. Technologies like these, involving interaction of AI and IoT, may soon become an essential element of green buildings and smart homes. India is committed to reduce its carbon footprint. Along with switching to renewable energy resources, we need smart energy efficiency solutions at affordable prices. The Minion Labs startup has championed this cause to make us the boss of our electricity consumption.
Hands together for the brilliant Minion Labs. Who wouldn't want lower electricity bills? Gokul, fantastic product. Tell us a little about that almost magical small cube product. That's what you call Minion, is it?
Yes, because of the size of the product.
Right. So tell us a little about it. What does it do and the technologies that you work with?
So if you look at this property itself, there are a lot of equipments, lot of lights over here.
Yes, this stage.
And yes, this stage. And if the facility manager or the manager of this building wanted to save electricity cost, where he will go? So the person supposed to have each and every appliance level data, the consumption data, and how is he going to get that data? Is either he can install sensors for each and every equipment, or else he can install meters again for every equipment. End of the day, it has to kind of a dedicated connection to get the data. And if you look at the capital investment the manager is making is very huge. If you look at maybe a hospital, there are 500 plus equipments.
Absolutely.
So 500 plus meters, that's going to end up maybe a 10 lakhs plus investment. And when would be the return on investment would be a big question in terms of energy savings, added the operational investment. So this is the problem I wanted to solve, to reduce the sensors. So thus we brought it a sensorless technology, where at single point of connect, it can still able to detect each and every equipment, appliances, whichever is turned on and turned off at real time.
Right.
And furthermore, it can also able to benchmark these appliances. Like a client might like bought a air conditioner some like 5 years or 10 years back,
Right.
and it could say like this much is the wattage or this much is the star rating.
Okay.
But at real time, whether it is performing up to the mark or not. And we check the kind of a benchmark at every time the client is turning on, and if something goes wrong, immediately send a notification.
And they can monitor it all on their mobile phones. The data is coming onto the app.
Yes.
Now, Gokul, we'd like to learn a little more about the end customer. Like whether it's individual or institutions, we would all want a lower electricity bill. So can your product be used by households as well as institutions like hospitals?
So currently we are looking at kind of a commercial sectors,
Okay.
and we have plans in like down the years into the B2C for the consumers. So in terms of hospitals, we work with Fortis Hospital. In Fortis Hospital, if you see, if not Minion, they would have installed meters or sensors for each and every equipment, and where they are using Minion now, and then and there they have reduced their capital investment. That's the first savings they see.
Capital investment on the technology that they're using
Correct,
to monitor the energy.
Correct. Instead of like they avoided a bunch of sensors, instead they just use 1 or 3 Minions if it's a single phase or 3 phase.
Okay.
And then and there they just like cut down their capital investment. Added that, there's a bonus of energy savings, where Fortis Hospital is our first client, where literally we were like sleeping on the floor and like while doing the R&D, and the entire system, the architecture is supposed to detect these appliances, benchmark it, and tell the facility maintenance like what is going wrong at real time, or else it's gonna be a post-mortem report. The appliance or like the event would have already occurred, and some problem would have occurred.
Right.
So at real time we have to send it, and the facility maintenance supposed to take an action at that time to avoid such problems, and that turns into energy savings. And in one such period, like initial early days, it also sent a notification like turn off the oxygen concentrator. So that was like, that shouldn't send to a hospital. So we literally slept on the floors of the hospital, and we did R&D for like about an year there.
Right.
And finally we have achieved a 18 lakh savings from their 1.5 crore electricity bill.
So a lot of work has gone in the making of this product. We're very curious to know about the origin of the idea. We can all relate to the product. How did you think of working in an area like this?
So I'm an electronics graduate, and I started this as part of my academic project back in 2015. And I don't want to just like buy a ready-made project kit and keep it as like this is my academic project. I wanted to do something unique, and so that's the outcome of Minion. And where like at 2016 there were like couple of awards it has received. I was like doing a research in IIT Madras, and but I'm not a background of IIT. I just did my undergraduate somewhere in the rural area down in Tamil Nadu. But through there I got some connections where there was a flagship event by Narendra Modi. It was a Make in India, and there was a college level fest where they were searching for top 10 Indian innovations in water, transport and energy category. So I just applied, and seems like Minion came in one of the top 10, and they called us there, and we went there and we did a demo kind of, and out of a public voting, Minion turned to be the India's second best innovation award, and directly from Shri Narendra Modi himself.
That's amazing. But let's also hear from the mentors as to what do they have to think about your brilliant product. Let's connect with Kunal from NPCI. Kunal, it's a brilliant product really that Minion Labs have come up with. How do you see it as lying at the heart of the conception of smart cities that we talk about? You know, a small gadget that can monitor usage and control wastage of power and electricity.
Because I think it's going to be very critical. I think for everything in the digital world, I think the parallel in my mind is going to be oil or air or water. So I think, I don't know whether that's electricity is going to become the 6th element or the 7th element there for the human race to survive. And I think if something can help us consume that more responsibly, will be a brilliant idea. I think I would say the product is at the right time available. I think it's big. I think it's a bit ahead of time. I think we'll be more responsible citizens. I think my only request to Gokul there would be, make it something like, which is really customer friendly. So like a customer like me could use it. If I can plug it in my house myself,
absolutely,
and I could use it without much technical assistance, I think that should do the job. So I think if the consumer experience is great, I think this will have a great application.
Absolutely. Kunal, ahead of its time, really. The idea must have been ahead of its time too when it was at that stage, Gokul. How did you convince the investors? How was that experience for you?
That was a long journey. Like initially I was like looking for investors that I have a product or it's not a product, it was a college project. So college project doesn't sell. And moreover, I was a background of engineer, and I can't complain myself that I do not have knowledge in sales and marketing. Right. How am I going to sell that? But since this I wanted to pursue, and I was looking at it and like searching for investors, and then what I understood after a couple of bad experiences, investors generally bet on a running house, not something like which you wanted to create.
Yes.
So I took a personal loan, and from that I bootstrapped, and I got some sales running. And then back in 2019, I convinced Indian Angel Network, who have invested on us. Okay. So that took me around 2015 until 2019.
Amazing. On that investment perspective, let's also turn to our mentor, Stanley, and learn from him. Stanley, you just saw the journey of Minion Labs. On the investment front in particular, what would you advise? How could they go about getting more investment and growing bigger? What kind of strategy could they adopt?
As he rightly said, he took a personal loan, did some traction, then reached out to angel investor. I think that was the right time, because definitely, angels definitely look out for some early traction. But yeah, hence, since you already have numbers in place, growth in place, there's a demand, and anything that saves money, especially, people would love to buy, whether it's an institution or a home product also. And IoT of things has a huge opportunity. So I think, this will gonna go big. And if you are making a cash positive business, there won't be any dearth of capital for you here in the sector specifically. Minion Labs, personally, I didn't know that well about this startup. After Shubhendu reached out to me, then I looked into it more deeply. I mean, this is something very, very, it's actually difficult to crack something so early and so big, especially for these guys, startups and all. So capital in terms of I would love to have a look at this also from investment point of view too. We love consumer tech also. So this is a good opportunity, which none of the consumer focused investors, VC funds, PE funds would like to miss out for.
Thanks, Stanley, for that input. Now, Gokul, we understand this fascinating product is also unique in many ways. In that ways, how are you protecting the patent? You've received the patent for it?
So currently we have gone with a couple of hearings, and possibly down the 1 or 2 months we are looking for the claims to be granted. But though the patent is aside, there are like certain methods that is like which keeps us a kind of a first mover. Like we are installing the device at single point, and how it is going to detect each and every equipment. So someone like anyone can able to reverse engineer the hardware, and there are like many companies who are advanced in the AI. But in between that, there is a concept of energy signatures. So through which the device captures these energy signatures. The energy signatures is a noise signal produced by all these equipments and appliances, which Minion can able to track at single point. And currently we have a database of 8,000 plus energy signature. That means 8,000 plus appliances. If you tell a hospital, I have MRI, CT scanners, X-ray machines. If you tell me a retail, I have HVAC systems, boilers, chillers, and how it performs, what kind of a problems it may make, and what is the solutions it is available. And if any of the client has the same exact problem, then it is going to shoot this is the solution and if someone wanted to replica the same, and maybe by 2025 or 2030 they might come around 8,000, but still I will be at 80,000 of energy signatures of the appliances performance.
And you've created this startup with so much hard work. There's someone who's been a witness to this hard work. Let's listen in from that person.
My son decided for entrepreneurship, leaving his well-paid job from Amazon. At first I was surprised, as it was not going to be easy or a joke, but I did not say no. I looked at him and asked, what are you going to do? He said he's going to save electricity for common people and a business and generate employment in the country. Having an entrepreneur background myself, I validate his business model and found it a very good case. As a parent, I am really very happy and feeling proud. He always has never give up attitude. Everything comes at a cost. His professional journey and achievement costed him personal sacrifice. Hardly he comes 5 times a year to home, missing family occasions and festivals as he was so dedicated to his dream.
So Gokul, we just heard from your mother. She's also an entrepreneur. How was that significant in your journey of the startup?
So my mother was the kind of a backbone for the entire journey, but though she was like running a chain of beauty parlors, but beauty parlors is a retail which is entirely different from what I am running, which is like B2B energy savings. But here, whenever I feel down or like something which is not going as per my plan, I always run back to my mother. And she was my really a good friend, where like back in the days, like when I was in 10th standard, I was a state level hockey player. And that time I met with an accident. I thought my career is gone. And she comforted me, this is not the only one, and you can go forward. And then like through some connections where like they pushed me into the diploma, where I saw the entire new digital electronics and new world. And I was the topper in the college there. And then there was again a breakthrough, I mean kind of a breakdown, which is like the on-campus job placements, where like, as I said, 400 plus job applications got rejected because my 10th standard mark was low. And the first round of shortlisting is by the resume and by the mark. They don't look at the talent. So that was one. And she comforted 400 companies is not the only in India. There are many companies, why not you try? And through the coding competition, I got into Amazon. But Amazon, after getting into IT arena, is in my part of the journey, where like I left Amazon and started Minion Labs. And
okay. Amazing. Your story, Gokul, is inspiring at so many levels. You know, one opportunity goes away, the other one opens door. Let's quickly get some questions from our audiences present here. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Your product is amazing. So what is the cost of the product if I am using in my house? So what it will be cost to me?
So we have a mixed model, and we do not kind of scare people, because saving electricity costs should be as easy as saving money in the bank. And to open an account in the bank, in the bank, you don't charge much. So we operated on a kind of a commission. Whatever you save, we take a commission from that.
So Vishant this side. So my question is that this AI and IoT will be soon the new normal of the economy. So what are the initial hurdles you face while adopting this technology?
There is one saying, selling AI, the client should not know it is an AI. Or else they're gonna be like, so when I say the device will detect each and every equipment, then obviously people will like either doubt my product, it will not work, how come a single point it can able to detect, or else they're gonna be like kind of the industry experts won't believe, or like something, until they see the proof of concept. So we just get into a pilot and we install the product and show them the dashboard. Here, this is how it works. And we never in the journey, we don't mention it as AI.
Hello, my name is Prashant Kumar. First of all, congratulations for all the hard works and success you get. So as we talk about startups in India, it's a bit difficult, you know, to gather the team and to get the motivation in ourselves. So what are the vex and veins you have been through for this amazing journey you guys had?
So for me, this entrepreneurial journey is still like a learning, where I'm not a very experienced, and though I come from engineering, so every perspective in the startup is a learning for me. And as a founder, I have to be kind of a man of many faces. So I learned what is marketing, and I learned what is sales, and that I leverage through incubation and acceleration and industry experts, advisors, everyone. And putting a team together, like I believe like founder is not the company who is building the company. The first 10 employees are the persons who actually believe in you, and they come and they build the company. So where I had a lot of hurdles, because my background again is not HR, I do not know who to hire and what to look for on the person to hire, and hired few persons, and it was failed to be wrong. And then I learned and now there's a team.
Right. And finally, Ashneer, Gokul, all the young entrepreneurs who are watching this program, if you could share one key learning, key wisdom that kept you going even during the difficult times, especially during the beginning, what would that be? Ashneer, if you could share from your experience.
I think for the youngsters, it's important to understand that you're doing it for a reason, right? And the reason cannot be that you want to be a founder, right? So becoming a founder is becoming like becoming a doctor, right? It's a title you want to put in front of your name, right? It seems exciting. It seems you'll get a lot of limelight, you'll get a lot of money, right? But there has to be that one single reason for which you are doing it, right? And you have to be very adamant about what that reason is. So do it for the right reason. Just don't do it because it's it seems like the cool thing to do in today's age, or all your peers have become founders, right? If you don't have that calling in you, if you don't have that one reason, one problem you want to solve, and which is a meaningful problem to solve, just stay out of it.
Amazing. And Gokul, what would you share about the wisdom that you gained through your journey?
So what I actually look at is the visionary. So I have a short-term goal of like saving up approx 30 billion kilowatt hours of electricity, and that is at 2030. And until today, every day I look at how much energy savings I made for the client, and I write it. We do an impact evaluation on each and every client, whether I'm meeting the goal, and to meet the goal, how much I have to put even more. So the visionary comes into the picture, and there could be like the plans won't go as per the normal, but we should be always kind of a never settle attitude.
Very special food for thought from both the founders. Let's put our hands together for them, shall we? And as we move towards the conclusion of this edition of Startup Champions, let's also see the kind of impact that Startup Champions is having. Take a look.
Thank you, Doordarshan. It was absolutely a fabulous coverage of Startup Champions in your national network. It gave us a huge leg up. We got immediately started getting queries from all over India. Our mission of providing safe water to the underprivileged and underserved areas got a huge coverage, which is an essential part of the Jal Jeevan mission.
On that note, let me thank the startups who joined us today. Ashneer, thank you very much. Gokul, thank you very much. If we can have a round of applause for our startups. And also for our mentors who joined us today, Kunal and Stanley, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your perspective in the program. And that brings us to the close of this edition of Startup Champions. You can write to us, tell us about how you're enjoying this program. If you want to connect any of the startups who come on the stage, you can write to us at startup.india@gov.in. And it's time to say goodbye, but this journey of learning, this journey of inspiration will continue. I'll take your leave for now. Namaskar.